Monster Hunter, the game where you hunt monsters so you can make better equipment in order to fight even larger monsters. Hello everyone, I am the Toxic Trista, and welcome to my countdown of the top 25 monsters in Monster Hunter. Having started with Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and working my way back through the series, this has easily become one of my favorite franchises of all time. Despite its simple concept, it provides hours upon hours of addictive gameplay thanks to its rich and broad crafting and combat mechanics. But we're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about the thing that keeps people like me coming back to the series time and time again. And those are the monsters themselves. The Monster Hunter franchise offers a wide variety of creatures to hunt, which I hope to properly show on this list. Now to make this clear, this is a list consisting of my personal favorites, but it will be organized in a way that marks them based on various factors. This list will feature creatures from the first generation to the fourth, and it will also include those from Monster Hunter Cross, as I was given an opportunity to play it, despite it not being released in the West yet. Now I know that with so many monsters to choose from, chances are I may not have some of your favorites, but I can assure you there are many I regret not being able to put on this list. Now, there will be spoilers present, so you have been warned. Now with all that out of the way, let's get this countdown started. Oh yeah, we're starting with a big one. Literally being translated to as the Tall Man God, the Shen Gan definitely lives up to its name. Protected by the skull of an elder dragon, Shen is essentially the living counterpart of a mobile siege weapon, and its battle highly reflects this point. During the hunt, Shen will barely notice you as it marches on towards its true target, the one thing it truly sees as a rival to itself. A wall. A wall that you have to protect, because trust me, Shen will do everything in its power to tear it down.
Tear it down! Reagan smash! Reagan smash!
Despite this rocking siege-through tray having size on its side, you are not completely helpless, as you're given access to ballistas, cannons, and the almighty Dragonator. Even though these weapons will be your best friend during this hunt, your main focus will be its legs. This can be a problem as each one of Shen's steps can cause a tremor effect and easily trample you. So paying attention to Shen's movements is crucial to avoid being stepped on. If you're able to do enough damage to his legs, however, you'll be able to bring this giant crab down, allowing you to smash its stupid face for massive damage. Even though the struggle with this crab is a long one, it is paired up with an amazing theme and does provide pretty decent equipment, making it the perfect beast to start off this list.
Reagan sleepy.
Why did it have to be snakes? Being the only snake rival introduced in the series so far, the naguarah is a long serpent-like creature that rules as a top predator over the more tropical environments in the game. Spotting a fantastic design, this viper has numerous tricks it can use to put hunters like you at a disadvantage. First off, naguarah will litter the arena with scales that will explode when naguarah creates the proper frequency using its rattle that will instantly stun you if you're struck by it. On top of this, naguarah may instead use these scales to amplify its devastating sonic blast. However, by far its favorite move to use is to simply use its long body to encircle the player, entrapping them before attacking them from below. Even though it's typically not the most difficult thing to escape from, it can prove to be quite annoying considering how much it will spam this move during the hunt. Combine this with the fact that it can paralyze you on your attempt to escape, and you can probably understand why I'm not the biggest fan of this tactic. Despite this, naguarah is always worth hunting since its weapons are some of the best in terms of causing paralysis. Personally, I highly recommend its longsword. It also spots a polar subspecies called the tidal naguarah, which gains the ability to rapidly shoot balls of water that will bounce off its scales, creating a deadly game of pinball. It should also be noted that the tidal naguarah is the only monster subspecies that can be affected by the apex status, a status not even the normal naguarah can be affected by. Apart from a great design and a few good gimmicks, there just isn't much left to say about this lively foe, which is why naguarah is stuck at 24.
Snake!
Is that seriously its name? Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Nibble Snob is easily one of the dumbest names ever given to any monster in any game franchise ever. And it's also highly misleading, as this thing doesn't exactly nibble, nor is it a member of the Thundercats. But I have to admit, it strangely fits. And that is because to me, Nibble Snob is kind of the Joker of the Monster Hunter universe, but in a good way. For starters, it's basically a giant salamander that just so happens to live and swims in a desert, because you know, logic. Second, some of the parts you can break on Nibble Snob are just plain odd, including its gills and its uvula. How do you break a uvula? No, seriously, how? Lastly, and most importantly, you can just dick with this thing so much during its fight. For starters, like most monsters who dig, you can use a sonic bomb while it's underground to cause it to return to the surface stunned, leaving it open to attacks. What is unique to the Nibble Snob, however, is that you can trick it into eating bombs, causing itself to blow itself up, where you can then literally fish it out of the sand. Unfortunately, the tactics it uses against you are not as unique as the tactics you use against it, mainly consisting of bites and lunges. Although I have to admit it does have a pretty awesome sandblast attack that can cause water bite, making it harder for you to evade it. Also, while its gear looks pretty neat, its weapons and armor are decent at best. Nonetheless, while it's not the hardest monster, it is a really fun fight, and definitely one I return to whenever I'm in the mood to troll a monster. What else to say but... Damn snowy apes! Being the leader of the Belonga is one frosted baboon that is not to be taken lightly. Being a pack monster, Belonga is rarely not seen without its fellow Belongas, which it will summon more of when it's in a pinch. However, unlike other monsters that rely on a pack, any Belonga specially summoned by a Belonga will have a special ability: to throw snowballs. Truly a terrifying tactic. That aside, Belonga is no pushover, being able to close distances pretty easily with its lunges, and being able to inflict ice blight with its frost blast. It can also dig around the arena and fling huge chunks of ice, which will trap you in the also hilarious but deadly snowman status, which involves you walking around like an idiot before being horribly mauled. Another little trick that is unique to Belonga is the ability to wipe away any paint on him, making it harder to track. It also gives some pretty great early game armor and weapons that can cause pretty good ice damage. Like most tundra monsters, Belonga has a desert-dwelling subspecies, the copper Belonga. While lacking a pack like its mountainous counterpart, it has become much stronger because of it, being able to instead use sandblast, which will instantly stun you, and incorporates more rock flinging into its tactics. Like seriously, its favorite thing to do is to throw a rock.
It was a big rock.
Even though the Belonga is a somewhat average monster to most, this is one monster that manages to hit a lot of spots with me, mostly with snow. Smashing. Taking the 21st spot is the tank of the marshlands, DRaGMaRe. Being one of the large monsters you can hunt in the series, DRaGMaRe is also one of the most passive, at least until you disturb it, in which case it then becomes a wrecking ball of pain. What I like most about the DRaGMaRe is its design. It's simple, but manages to combine various aspects of real-life herbivores throughout the ages. Alongside its large hump, its most distinguished feature is its club-like tail, or axe-like tail if you're fighting the russet DRaGMaRe, which admittedly is the only difference between the two. Typically, DRaGMaRe will use its tail to slam against the player, but by using it as a counterbalance, it's able to spin itself with enough velocity to send itself flying, which is hands down one of the most hilarious moves I have ever seen. When DRaGMaRe is spinning, it does leave itself open around its legs if you're able to get past its tail, allowing you to knock it over if you do enough damage. This bizarre moveset makes DRaGMaRe a very fun fight for me, since it offers a lot of risk versus reward. It is, however, a pretty bulky monster, resulting in a lengthier fight than most, especially when you first encounter it so early on in 3U. That being said, his weapons are some of the best in terms of pure power, and his armor set, besides being one of my favorite design-wise, also gives quite a few great defensive skills, making you just as hard to kill as the DRaGMaRe itself. While this behemoth has quite a few problems going for it, it is the one fight I like to come back to time and time again. Just remember to keep your eyes on the sky though. we're gonna need a bigger everything. Easily being the largest monster ever introduced in the main series of games, Humongous doesn't even begin to describe the DRaGMaRe. Due to his size and the fact that he will constantly move about the landscape, positioning is the name of the game when facing off against this titan. Finding the right location to avoid its devastating attacks and organizing which parts of his body to attack are your main priority. Of course, Dollar will not make this easy due to all of his attacks covering a wide range and the fact that he will spam summon meteors like some sort of Final Fantasy character. But in all seriousness, screw the meteors. Also during the fight, Dollar will carve out sections of the map, making it harder to traverse, and will actually destroy half of it when it loses enough HP. Dollar is also one of the few arrow dragons to have a variant, in its case, the Shah DRaGMaRe, which is basically just a DRaGMaRe with freshly shed skin, giving it quite literally a goddess complexion, as well as the ability to literally melt the very ground with each attack. The main problem with both of them, despite proving to be a difficult and epic encounter at first, quickly becomes a highly predictable fight since it never changes its patterns, making grinding him for materials feel very repetitive. Also, with the exception of the insect glaive and the switch axe, I cannot recommend any other weapon crafted for the DRaGMaRe, and his armor is easily one of the worst I have ever seen. Nonetheless, Dollar is one epic encounter that has no equal in terms of size and power, making it a battle I can't stop myself from coming back to, even though I admit it's a fight that's best in small doses. Oh no, it's cute! Going from one of the strongest monsters to one of the weakest, we have the oh-so-lovable Quechua. Let's start about talking about this oddball's design, and how it has blurred the line between weird and adorable. The best way to describe this thing is if you had an elephant, an eye, and a flying squirrel, throw them into a blender, and the result was somehow not a complete mess. However, my favorite thing about Quechua is how it has set a new standard for monsters you fight early on. Despite being like the third or fourth monster you fight, it has a surprisingly advanced moveset for something you counter so early on. Nothing difficult, but refreshing nonetheless when you first hunt it. Being the monster that introduces you to vertical combat, it likes to swing around areas with canopies, which it will incorporate into its attacks. It will also fire globs of water from its trunk and quickly fly into the air in order to perform dive bombs. When it enters rage mode, its long ears will cover its face, forming a protective mask, which looks pretty fashionable if you ask me. The Quechua also has a subspecies variant known as the Ash Quechua, which besides its different coat of fur which matches its namesake, has the ability to shoot fireballs instead of water, and its ear mask becomes super armored when worn. Due to being such a low-ranked monster, it becomes a complete joke as the game progresses, and its armor and weapons are only okay early on. That aside, Quechua is a great start to a great game. It's time to bust out the antidotes. Lurking in plain sight, the arrow dragon of the mist, Chameleos, is well a chameleon-like dragon that just loves to inflict poison. Chameleos' main gimmick is his ability to turn invisible, which it uses a great effect since it allows Chameleos to not only quickly evade its attackers, but also sneak up on them for a counterattack. However, if you manage to destroy its horn, it will lose the ability to go fully invisible, allowing you to track it much easier. Like real-life chameleons, Chameleos is equipped with a long sticky tongue, which will lash around, which can actually steal one of your items if you get hit by it. However, most of Chameleos' attacks incorporates poison, either as toxic globs, steam blasts, or as an explosive cloud. To add to this, Chameleos will use its wings and fan-like tail to move the venomous vapors around the area, making them hard to avoid. While poison can be an annoying ailment, I find that Chameleos isn't nearly as bad as some other monsters I could mention, due to Chameleos having a lot of tails before doing some of his attacks. When enraged, Chameleos will create a mist that will cover the entire area in a thick fog, in order to diminish your visibility, which I never understood, since Chameleos' main gimmick is to go invisible, but at least it adds to the scenery. What has to be Chameleos' biggest positive is that it provides some of the best skill in the game, with its weapons being some of the best in terms of dealing poison, and his armor being great for those who like to use status weapons. While I can see why this monster might be annoying to some, I greatly enjoy it, and is my go-to for farming large arrow dragon gems. Not that it's a hard choice, considering the other two options. Great, now I'm all sticky. The tall, dripping Elder Dragon, Gorg Moses is easily one of the most intimidatingly designed monsters ever created. Despite looking like a dragon version of Hexus, this rocky nightmare is packing some serious firepower. And I do mean firepower, because this thing actually eats gunpowder. During the battle, the tar that covers its body will fall off and will temporarily trap anyone it touches. This can be pretty dangerous, as this leaves you open to nearly all of Gorg's attacks, including a claw and tail swipe that can cause fire blight. However, if you're really unlucky, Gorg may use his time to fire his extremely powerful and explosive oil laser, which is something you really do not want to get hit by. Once enough damage is done, Phase 2 will begin, and this is where the fight gets nuts. Taking to the air, Gorg will begin firing his laser wildly around the arena, making it very hard to avoid. Thankfully, it will return to the ground once it's over, but now any bits of its tar that drips off will instantly explode, causing, you guessed it, more fire blight. This thing has a monstrous amount of HP as well, which means the time it takes to bring this thing down is ridiculous, which is my main problem with this monster. Thankfully, like most giant monsters, you're provided with cannons, ballistas, as well as a giant cannon called the Demolisher, and not one, but two Dragonators. The second one is just large in its back is all, so you're going to have to tear that thing out of him. Also, while he does provide excellent armor, his weapons are subpar, despite having some of the most badass designs out there. But my real problem with them is that they cause sleep of all things. Why not fire, or blast, or anything that remotely relates to Gorg? I just don't get it. But when all is said and done, Gorg makes for an entertaining and challenging battle, especially when you manage to take one of these things down. Top of the guild, Ma. Top of the guild.